This week's episode is sponsored by Eargasm. What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today is FAQN Friday. Let's jump into your guys' questions. Wes B asks, have you tried the Blue Guitar Amp 1 yet? Thank you for your question, Wes, and I think between the Blue Guitar Amp 1 or the Iridium and the Orange Crush or Super Crush, those are by far the most requested pieces of gear for me to demo on my channel. And unfortunately, no, I haven't heard from Blue Guitar yet, haven't heard from Orange yet, and I don't know that I'm going to, but maybe at some point I'll just directly reach out to those companies because you guys are basically begging me to demo those, which is cool. I'm really glad that you guys value my opinion that much. It's kind of wild to me. But yeah, I will definitely try to get those things on the channel one way or another. I have not gotten the chance to try them yet. I actually had a friend who visited NAMM last week, and he told me that he finally got to jam through the Blue Guitar stuff, and he said that it was actually very, very good, especially once he got to crank the volume on it. So I myself, extremely curious. I would love to check it out. I think the whole amp in a pedal format is just really, really cool, and is something that it seems like a couple of manufacturers are kind of moving towards. And honestly, if the honestly, if the technology's there and the stuff sounds good, I'm all for it, man, because as much as I love bringing tube amps with me, not every situation calls for that, and not every situation makes that possible. So I definitely like having options, especially pedal board sized options, and an amp and a power amp all in one package that you can just, you know, plug into and use. Like that's incredible to me. So not only is it a great form factor and a great travel friendly type option, but people tell me left and right that these things sound incredible. So I've not gotten to try one yet. I'm definitely going to go out of my way here shortly to try one because you guys are asking me pretty much on a weekly basis to get it on the channel. So I'm gonna work my magic and see what I can come up with. But yeah, as of now, haven't gotten to try one yet. Hoping that it happens soon. Squasho Lantern asks, any chance of trying out a science amp? Thank you for your question, man. And yes, I think a lot of the questions this week are gonna be in regards to me talking about the amps that I wanted to try that I have not yet tried, that I spoke about on my last FAQN Friday episode. So as far as Science goes, Science is a brand that I don't know much about, or a company, I guess you could say. I know that they're smaller, but the amps look really, really interesting to me, and they're definitely some stuff that I would like to check out. I originally thought that they were kind of like Sun-style Doomy amps, but it turns out that they have some amps that are tight and high gain monsters, and I've actually spoken to the owner of that company before. He didn't tell me that it was him, but he reached out to tell me that he liked my demos, which I thought was really, really cool. So maybe we can get some Science stuff on the channel as well here in the near future. If you guys have played Science stuff, let me know down in the comments. I'm really curious to see which amps that you think would kind of fit my tastes and my style the best, because I'm not super familiar with their amp models. So if you guys know which one that it is that I should get here on the channel, leave it down in the comments if you've had experience with it before. That way I have a reference point and I know what to ask for to get here for you guys. But I'm pretty much open to any high gain amp options when it comes to what I would like to get on the channel. It doesn't even have to be an amp. Like we said, the Blue Guitar stuff, technically that's an amp, but any high gain preamp pedals, any high gain plugins. It's just when it comes down to metal guitar tones, I am interested in all of it, and it seems like you guys are too. So anything that I find relevant in the high gain world, even if it's a cheap $100 solid state, I don't care, man. I want it on the channel. I want to give you guys a basis for comparison, because I know all those years when I was trying to figure out if certain pieces of gear were any good for the high gain thrash metal and hardcore thing, there weren't really any videos that were kind of oriented towards that. When I was looking at certain pieces of gear, like the PV Triumph, the PV Ultra, basically all the old PV stuff, there was really no good representation on YouTube for what those things actually sounded like. And come to find out, they all rule for the type of stuff that I like to play, but I didn't know that at the time, so I was always hesitant to take a chance. Even though they were cheap, I didn't have a lot of money back then, so 200 bucks for a VTM, which sounds insane now, was still a lot for me to drop on an amp that I wasn't sure that I was going to like. So, as I've said many times, the whole point of this channel is to give you guys a reference point, somewhere to go that you know that you can find cool demos for, you know, gear that maybe a lot of other people won't touch because it's too old or it's too obscure, or, you know, nobody is really looking directly for those items because they're all after the hot new items on the market, whatever is in vogue at the moment. I'm just out here trying to demo everything I can get my hands on. That way you guys have a great source for high gain demos on pretty much anything you could imagine. So that is the goal. That's what we're heading towards, and I aim to complete that at some point. Alright guys, so we have already had the Eargasm talk a couple times on this channel, but my friends at Eargasm wanted to introduce you to one of their new products. Now you guys are familiar with Eargasm high fidelity earplugs, which give you a 21 decibel attenuation of your sound, but they don't kill the sound quality. They just take that level, they turn it down a little bit, but they keep all of the details intact, and I think that that is invaluable for us musicians who are constantly punishing our ears with high volume and basically standing around like idiots while our hearing deteriorates until we can no longer hear anything over the ringing of the tinnitus that plagues the rest of our existence. But for those of you who are concerned with style as well as functionality, Eargasm has introduced the clicks. The Eargasm clicks give you the same awesome 21 decibel attenuation without killing the sound quality of whatever it is that you're listening to at the time, but you now get an additional 3 different fitment options as well as the ability to customize the clicks to match whatever it is you're wearing at the time. So if you're like me and you're constantly worried about your style when you're out and about and making sure that you look your best, you can now have your awesome Eargasm earplugs match your outfit. So not only are you going to be protecting your hearing for the long run, but you're gonna look cute AF doing it. I wanna punch myself for that part. So if you guys are interested in any of Eargasm's offerings, not only the clicks, which are a new offering, but the high fidelity earplugs, the squishies, and my personal favorite, the slide model, I have an affiliate link down below that you guys can click. Get yourself a nice pair of Eargasm earplugs. Make sure that your hearing is protected. And if you use that link, I get a little bit of a kickback. So help me help you by protecting your ears for the long run with Eargasm earplugs. Again, link below in the description, and thanks to Eargasm for sponsoring this video. Neji H asks, hey Kyle, the other day I was watching Metallica play on a baseball match and I found their amps quite odd. A baseball match, that's funny. James's amp looked like a weird rectifier and Kirk's amp was a Randall with like a billion knobs. Do you know or have you played this amp? All right, man, so I see this come up all the time, believe it or not, especially in the Mesa Boogie group. Like I see maybe once a month this post come up where people ask what amp James is playing. I believe they're at the San Francisco Giants games. Yes, because that's what's on both of the amps. So for James, he is actually just playing a visually modified Mesa Boogie Stiletto. If you look and compare the faceplate and the control layout and everything to a Mesa Boogie Stiletto, it's exactly the same as the amp that James is playing in those pictures and in those videos. So he probably just had Mesa make him a custom one that would match, you know, the color scheme and the logo of the San Francisco Giants. So that is what he is playing. It's no crazy prototype. It's no secret amp that Mesa never released. It's just a Mesa Boogie Stiletto with some different head shell aesthetics to it. That's all. As far as Kirk, pretty much same thing. Kirk has a KH 1003, I believe the model number is, Randall signature amp, which is basically a slightly modified Randall 667, which was one of the Fortin collaboration amps. It's basically like a Fortin meathead, I believe. Randall went ahead and made him a not only his own signature amplifier, not just for that, but in general, but they made him a special edition one, again, to match the San Francisco Giants aesthetics, their logo, their colors, and everything. So they're not playing any sort of crazy, unobtainable prototype amps in those pictures and those videos that are always floating around the internet. They're just playing basically off the shelf stuff that has been modified visually for that occasion. So yeah, hope that helps, man. Carlos Mendez asks, hey Kyle, how about a video doing a used market study and select your best amps on a budget to get now before they go up? That is actually a really great question and a really great idea for a video, and is pretty much along the lines of something that I said that I was gonna do quite a while ago, but I just have not gotten around to yet. And that is constructing budget rigs at certain price points. I still wanna do that video and I still plan on doing it. I just got, you know, way behind in some of the other content that I had to get out. So please forgive me on that. I know I talked about that months and months ago, but yeah, I definitely want to make a video kind of giving you a reference point and a pricing guide for basically the best metal rigs that you can get at certain price points. Of course, these are gonna be subjective because there's gonna be multiple options, and I'm gonna try to demo for you guys multiple options at each price point. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, I'm all about budget gear, guys. I know that I demo a lot of high dollar amps and a lot of high dollar cabs and everything. I love a good piece of budget gear. Case in point, I just got a B52 ST412 B cab. A lot of people don't even know these exist, but B52 makes a birch plywood cabinet that has vintage 30s in it, or they made. I don't believe that they're made anymore. The vintage 30s that are in this cab are UK, so I know that this cab is quite old. It's got to be at least 22, 23 years old at this point. But I got that cab for $100, and I would be more than happy to take that thing out and play it and abuse it, as opposed to something like my Omega cab, which my Omega cab is a piece of art. I absolutely love that cab. It looks beautiful, but the thought of taking it out somewhere, sometimes when it's gonna be a little iffy when I'm going somewhere that I'm not familiar with, and I don't want the amp or the cab to get damaged or stolen. Definitely don't want it to get stolen because they're pretty pricey and they're pretty hard to replace. I can take out a rig that is, you know, way less costly, like my PV Ultra 120 and that B52 cab, and if somebody steals that, I'm out 500 bucks, whereas if somebody steals my Omega half stack, I'm out almost 4 grand. So there's quite a difference in pricing there, but I still think that you can get amazing hardcore and metal tones out of cheap gear. And even though we're experiencing some crazy market inflation with the prices of everything in the world going up right now, it's not just guitar gear, for as much as people love to complain about guitar gear manufacturers raising their prices and the used market going crazy, like that applies to everything right now. I'm not gonna get into the politics of it as usual, but everything is going up. Food is going up, gas is going through the roof, housing prices, everything going through the roof right now. So when people sit there and complain about guitar gear going up in price, like, what do you expect, man? That's inflation. That is the way of the world. When the price of gas alone goes up, everything goes up because now it costs more to transport everything to your door or to the store. So you guys just, you know, you got to bite the bullet. You got to shut up and quit complaining and just realize that, you know, the market is what it is, and unfortunately the prices are just going up on everything. So to get an affordable metal rig, even on a budget, that budget used to be $400. You could get a good tube amp and cab if you looked hard enough. Well, now you're gonna have to pay more than that, but still, everything is kind of adjusted accordingly. So low, mid, and high tier options are still going to be, you know, everything that was in those tiers before, still in those tiers now, but you have to adjust the pricing of those tiers to match the current market pricing. But we're gonna do a video like that where I make, you know, 3 different tiers. We're gonna make a low price tier, a mid price tier, a high price tier of metal guitar rigs, including an amp and cabinet, and basically shoot out the differences, different options and stuff. That way you guys can get a feel for what you're paying for in those different price ranges, because believe it or not, just because you're paying more for an amp doesn't mean it's gonna sound better. That is the mistake that so many people make. They automatically assume that if they're paying more for an amp, they're going to like it better, or the tone is going to crush the tone of the cheaper or inferior amp, and that's just not the reality of it, man. I mean, for one, it comes down to subjective individual taste, but for two, price does not equal tone. Those two things can very much be mutually exclusive, and that's one thing that I aim to prove with that video. So with that being said, definitely make sure to keep an eye out for that in the future, because that is something that I'm really looking forward to doing, and I want to put some time into that video, make sure I do it right. And so yeah, that's something that you guys should see before the end of the summer. So that is gonna do it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. As always, leave your comments or your questions. Please leave your questions down below in the comments of this video for next week's episode. Pretty soon here, I may be scaling back these Friday videos for a little bit, because I feel like I'm kind of getting some repetitive questions, or I'm just not getting quite enough questions to make the shows interesting. So if you guys want to keep seeing these shows happen on a regular basis, I need your input and your participation in order to keep these things fresh. So if you have some new or interesting questions, put them down in the comments below, and I would really appreciate it. Otherwise, we're gonna kind of start doing these once every couple of weeks as opposed to weekly. So if you haven't done it yet, like this video on the way out, because it definitely helps me. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you don't miss any of my future uploads. And if you want to support the channel, there's all sorts of affiliate links down below, including my Sweetwater affiliate link, Eargasm, DistroKid. There are all sorts of services to help you guys, and when you sign up for them helping yourselves, it also helps me at the same time. Or you can support the channel more directly by buying some Belligerent Amateur merch that is directly below the description of this video. Get yourself a t-shirt or a mug, support the Belligerent channel, and get featured on next week's episode when you buy it and send me a picture of you wearing or sporting that gear. Or you can add your name to this list of very fine people by joining my Patreon community and supporting the channel that way. That is, of course, an excellent way to support the channel, and I appreciate each and every one of my Patreon members. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time. You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.